Shotgun with Charlie.
Riding shotgun refers to the practice of sitting next to the driver in a moving vehicle. The term riding shotgun came around after the time of the stagecoach, when somebody used to sit next to the driver holding a shotgun, in case they ran into bandits. My name is Charlie Cook, and I drive a lot. I like to talk to people while I'm driving, so I interview people in my car while I'm driving. Welcome to Riding Shotgun with Charlie. All right, welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. This is going to be a great episode, and I got to tell you, it is not going to be a waste of an hour. That's what the phrase is, right? You've wasted an hour. We're not going to waste an hour doing this. This is going to be a lot of fun. I have with me somebody who has an incredible range, an incredible story, and he's one hell of a guy. It is Mr. Gun for Hire, Anthony Colandro.
Perfect.
All right. He wants me to keep this intro for him and give it to his parole officer.
Yes.
Anthony is the founder of Gun for Hire Range, which is in upstate. Is this upstate New Jersey?
No, it would be considered northern New Jersey.
Northern New Jersey.
Yes.
There we go. So he's got a great range. He's got a great facility. He actually is expanding it, and it's going from 17,000 feet to...
from 17,000 feet to 71,000 square feet.
To 71,000.
From 19 shooting lanes to 60 shooting lanes on 2 floors.
Wow, that's pretty incredible, man. Pretty incredible. How did you get started in all this?
1986, I started...
How did you get started in shooting? Let me ask you that before you started shooting.
Well, I started shooting. A friend of mine, Charlie Padula, retired Belleville cop now. We were friends since junior high. His father owned a small little gun store, so we were always intrigued as kids. We would go in there and look at the knives and look at the guns. And when I turned 18 years old, Charlie took me shooting to an outdoor range first, and I became hooked. And I actually became pretty good at it, too.
Cool. That's cool. All right, so you started shooting as a kid, and then when did you decide, what made you want to become an instructor?
1986, I would go into ranges and shoot, and for about 6 years, from 86 to 92, I would, teach people how to shoot guns. I'd see you shooting at another port, and I'd give you tips or whatever, and I saw that I was pretty good at it, and for 6 years, people would say to me, you should become an instructor. So in 1992, I became an NRA certified instructor, had business cards made up, Firearms Training Center, and brochures with a pager number, because there was no internet then, and I started teaching out of local ranges in northern New Jersey. So that was 1992, and so I became professional at that point.
That's right. When you get a business card, that makes you professional.
You're professional.
There we go. That's all it takes. Cool. And then when did you're teaching people, you're getting them going, getting them up and running. You're shooting at a bunch of different places. When did you become Gun for Hire? So
from 1992 to about 2001, for 7 years, I was Firearms Training Center. And then I bought the web domain Gun for Hire. So I became gunforhire.com, changed the business name, doing business as, with the cool logo with the dropped eye, which everybody loves to wear my shirts and my hats and logo.
The belt buckles,
material. Yeah. Yes. And then in 2003, I opened a school in Belleville, New Jersey, where we had a central area where we could train hand-to-hand combat, baton, mace, various other verbal judo, and security guard training. And then I started to plan and plot to open my own range. And what would always bother me is, you guys, a lot of the people that are going to be watching this video, most of the ranges were, chubby old white guys, and everybody was dressed in camo, and it was predominantly a hunting culture. And I noticed how uncomfortable women and newbies would be when they entered the range. And I was always apologizing to my students that the bathrooms were dirty, and maybe there were, smut magazines in the bathroom, or they would treat the women like girly girls, like, hey, sweetie, you need a gift certificate. And my dream was to someday build my own range that was going to be female and family friendly. And that's where we are now.
That's pretty cool. That's very cool. Now, you weren't you weren't in the military or a police officer?
No, I don't like donuts. I'm a bagel guy, so I was never a cop. I just love to shoot, and I think because I'm a civilian and I teach the majority of civilians, that we have a softer touch and a softer approach. Because if you had military or police background, you went through an academy or you went through boot camp, so your tactics tend to be a little tougher. Not that I'm saying we teach in a sissified fashion, but we relate to civilians a little better, and they like that, and they keep coming back for more. I am now teaching third generation. I have grandparents bringing me their grandchildren for classes.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Which is really cool. The one thing that bothers me is when I teach now, people don't tell me, well, when I was your age, I used to, before you were born. It's like, well, that guy has to be 90 now to tell me that. So that kind of ticks me off a little bit.
Right. I got to tell you, too, I didn't get into it. I mean, I don't have a military background. I wasn't a cop. To tell you the truth, my story is I wanted to play trombone with the rock band Kiss.
Nice.
And they don't have a horn section, so that kind of left me high and dry.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, it's a big problem. So my deal is I went to the Berklee College of Music to get a degree in music education, hoping to be a rock star. In 2000, on September 11th, I was teaching in a public school, and after that, there was a meeting with the principal, and he said if anybody was if anyone gets in the building that's not supposed to be there, he would say that we should hide under the desks, and they'll call the police. And
running coward.
Exactly. So I thought that was a little crazy, and that's when I was like, you know what, I think I want to get my gun license, and then it just kind of picked up from there for me. So I too am one of these guys, when I see people that advertise stuff that's in camouflage, I'm like, okay, that guy's kind of a hunter, or he's in that whatever. That's how we got into it. And when I see guys that do the military stencil, I'm like, all right, that's not really for me. I want to get people as the gun instructor that I am. I want to get people that are regular everyday people. I mostly teach the NRA's home firearm safety class, and I say it's rifles and shotguns and handguns. Oh my! Just get people up and going so they don't hurt themselves, and if they want to take some lessons after that and learn how to shoot more, we can certainly do that.
Our tagline is America's Urban Defense Institute, because we're in a densely populated city, so our training tactics would be different for someone who lives in Arizona on a 10-acre ranch or something. And but I like that we've gone so mainstream. Now, you saw the entrance to my range. When the media asks me what our clientele looks like, I tell them it's a cross between the United Nations and Noah's Ark. We literally get every size, shape, and color that comes into the range, and about 40% of our new customers are female.
That's great.
And what's encouraging is I'll see 4 females, 20-somethings, come walking into the range to shoot. Mm-hmm. And I always say, welcome to the family, how you guys doing, and how'd you find out about us? And invariably, one of the girls will say, well, I came last week with my fiance, and I had such a good time, I convinced my girlfriends to come. I'm like, bingo, I won.
Nice. Awesome.
I won, because if we were that Duck Dynasty, not to disparage those guys, but for 50 years, the media says that we're all big, fat, white guys with summer teeth. Some over here, some over there.
Yeah, some are missing.
Yeah, and we got our suspenders on and a camouflage and our kill 'em all, let God sort 'em hat or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to break that stereotype. And I've asked women, so what did you think? And they're like, you guys weren't as fat as I thought you were going to be. You guys weren't as, dirty.
Right.
And again, we're breaking those stereotypes every day. Mm-hmm. And that's my job. And as a Second Amendment advocate, foremost, as well as a capitalist marksman, obviously, but as a Second Amendment advocate, if I get people from the New York metropolitan area that come into my place that never shot a gun before, and they leave my facility neutral, to me, that's a win.
Absolutely.
Because when they're at the water cooler after there's a tragedy or something, and there's people knocking us redneck hillbilly gunmongers, they're going to say, well, I don't know, it's not like that. I went last week with my sister, my wife, and they were nice, and the place was clean, and everybody was friendly. Mm-hmm. So that's a part of my job, I feel. It's my calling in life, is to treat people that way. We treat everybody like family that walks into the door. Our staff is programmed. My staff is, welcome to the family.
Yeah, it's great.
That's what we tell everybody. So
when I walked in yesterday, there were a couple good-looking girls that were sitting behind the counter, and I'm like, hi, I'm a fan of the podcast, and I'm in the area, and I wanted to stop and just check out the range. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. The stuff you want to see is in the back on the left. And they were really super friendly. You and Sandy say all the time, you talk about how clean the place is, and I came in tonight to pick you up, and there's a guy vacuuming the
we have 2 full-time maintenance guys, because we're open 82 hours a week, so they work 40-something hours a week. Because I'm OCD that way. First and foremost, I want the bathrooms clean because, you know, from a guy perspective, we could use a highway gas station bathroom and we're okay with it. But if you bring a woman in and it looks like that, she's never coming back.
Right.
6 months later, you say, "Hon, you want to go shooting again?" She'll be like, "That place we went to last time?" No.
Right. We're going to bring the Purell. I'm going to go to the bathroom before we hit there.
Correct. I can't have that. And then the other thing is, you know, a lot of times ranges are really testosterone driven. And women are made to feel uncomfortable. You know, names like Sweetie and Toots, or they'll say, "Oh, do you want to look at this gun?" We've had, you know, we had Sherry on the show. She went to Gander Mountain with her boyfriend, or she went to Cabela's. She was told, or Tactici told us that the guy didn't hand the gun to her. He handed it to her guy Chris, because like she's the woman and it's the man's job to hand it to the woman.
Right.
So we don't have that. I might be the only range in the country that has a concierge desk with 2 women manning it all the time. And the reason for that is when women walk in with or without men attached to them, they go, "Oh, okay, there's women here. This is cool."
Right. It puts their whatever, drops their
guard down, lets them a little more at ease from that point. So, so I think that's important because, again, you hear me talk on the radio show. The NRA has 5 million members. We're saturated with white guys. We need to reach out to the females. We need to reach out to the minorities. That's our future.
Totally. I did a class this past weekend at someone's house, and it was 6 women. 6 women. I put
wonderful.
I put a pink grip on my J-frame revolver. It was a lot of fun. And you know what I've noticed? Women, when you teach women, they actually pay attention.
I would teach women over men any day of the week. Women focus more. They follow directions. They realize that guns can be dangerous, so they take it a lot more serious. We're guys. We tend to whatever. I watch a YouTube video. And
saw the Dirty Harry movie. We're good to go.
You know, we have unisex classes that we limit to 6 people. We almost always have at least 1 or 2 women in a class. And then every other week we run ladies only classes that sell out 6 women in every class.
That's awesome.
And that tells you the future. And you know, for you guys that are listening to this show that might have ranges that don't cater to the females like I do, I just want to remind you that it's 2016. We let them wear shoes. We gave them driver's license.
We let them vote.
And we even let them work, which means they have their own income. So you probably should start focusing on that market. Just a little marketing hint there for everybody out there.
Oh, that's great, man.
It's true, though. It's true. We have to embrace the females. And then, you know, it's funny. I remember when I was a kid, I'd ask my father if I could do something borderline dangerous. Ask your mother. Okay? So the Reverend Kevin Blanchard always says this, too, that it's the moms that we have to turn because ultimately it's the moms that are making decisions. I don't know if Ken spoke to you about that, did he?
You know what? I certainly read it in his book.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was something that came up when I talked to him.
Yeah, and I went to a speaking engagement with him once. We both spoke at a Second Amendment thing, and that stuck in my head. And I always give him credit for it. I don't want to steal anybody else's material, but if we win the hearts and minds of the women who are going to become moms, they're going to be the ones that when the husband wants to take the 8-year-old son or daughter shooting, we want the mom to say to the husband, yes, it's okay to take them. We don't want the mom to have a negative perception of our sport.
Absolutely.
Very important.
It's good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Thank you. It's my passion, just like you have your passions with. I'm sure music. You have strong music passions, right?
I do. I certainly spent my time. I spent 10 years playing in a Motown disco funk band. I like to tell people that when they do a class with me that I'm the only firearms instructor they're ever going to have that's opened up for Dolly Parton, opened up for Ray Charles, opened up for Earth, Wind, and Fire, and that's performed with Meatloaf.
Wow.
So my background, you know, when people, I don't call guns weapons. I say the mind is the weapon, everything else is a tool. And
very good.
If they're not weapons, they're just tools.
That's interesting. 2 customers were in today. They're in their mid-70s. And one was a professional drummer, studio and touring, and the other one played violin, the female, their husband and wife.
Oh, wow.
And they played for Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, the whole Rat Pack. Eric Clapton they tour with and everything. And when you listen to the drum intro on New York, New York, that's my buddy Jimmy Young, because I've been to his house and I saw the gold records. So.
Oh, my God. And these guys, totally cool.
I've met them out after work, and they can tell some really good stories.
Oh, my God, so, I can imagine.
And that's one thing about our fraternity is it's so diverse. you know, it knows no boundaries from blue collar to white collar. We in the range, you'll have a neurosurgeon shooting next to someone who drives a tow truck for a living, and they'll converse and let each other try each other's guns.
I got to tell you, I think I've been to the range before, and if there's asking someone about their gun it's a great icebreaker, and it's a great way to make a new friend, and people are more than willing to talk about their gun and what they got and why they got it, and it does this, it does that, it feels a little comfortable when I do this, and I don't know if it's too big for my hands, and literally it's just a great way to make a new friend. And then before you know it, they always say this: you want to try it?
Always. And I talk about that on my radio show too, where if I was walking down the street and somebody asked me for $1, I tell them F off and get a job. But if I'm in the range shooting and if someone in a port next to me asks me what gun I'm shooting, I will hand them my gun with $10 worth of ammo in it and let them shoot it. And if you, Charlie, if you asked me a week later what color they were, what race, what religion, I don't know, and I don't really give a crap.
Don't care. Right.
Because I believe that by us having this bond of firearms and fighting for our Second Amendment rights, we have a common enemy. And so what happens is, because we're fighting that other enemy, we bond together better.
Absolutely.
And you know, my range is extremely diverse. We get alternate lifestyle people here. We have transgenders that shoot in my range. You know, I'm only 14 miles from Manhattan, so we're the cornucopia of people that come to shoot. And listen, it's not my job. I don't care. I really don't. It's not my job to judge what people do in the privacy of their own home. I have a business that's open to the public, and if they're alternate lifestyle or they want to pray, you know, what do they call them? The Pastafarians, the ones that wear the pasta strainer around their head. Have you ever heard of them?
Pastafarians?
Yeah, there is Pastafarians. They wear a pasta strainer on their head.
I thought those were the Italian guys.
No, not Rastafarians, but Pastafarians.
Pastafarian.
And I really don't care. My doors are open to everybody. I treat everybody like family. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And you know what? It's paid off in droves, because we've approximated, we've had about 1.2 million people come through the range.
Wow.
Yeah, we've had 180,000 unique visitors in 4 years. So we have 180,000 names in our database, and then figuring out, you know, we have members that come every day. We have members that come once a week. So taking that average, it puts us way over 1 million. And, you know, again, every size, shape, and color, and people bring new shooters to the range all the time and introduce them.
Yeah.
And we allow children 8 years old and up, and everybody is, you know, so excited to shoot. So I just love winning the hearts and minds of people every day.
That's cool. 8 years, I'm not going to say 8 years is young. What I tell people when I teach classes is I had my son shoot a Mossberg Plinkster when he was 5.
Great gun.
And I had my daughter shoot a Browning Challenger, a 22 semi-auto handgun, when she was 4.
Now, were they outside shooting those 22s?
We were outside, and I had my arms around them. I've got this great picture of my daughter. She's got little bobby socks on. She's got on a pink camo skirt, or skirt, and she's got on a white shawl, and she's got a little curly hair. And my arms are around her. My hands are over her hands. All she's doing is squeezing the trigger. And then every time when my kids were young, every time after we went to the range, I always say, "Hey, let's go get an ice cream." Nice. So I give them a little positive reinforcement there.
I have time. So the other thing is, our rule is 8 years old. Because that's when the ears are fully developed. But we're an indoor range, and there's other people shooting, you know, 308 and 223 in the range too, so as not to damage their ears. We tell all of our customers when they come in that if you have a child, they should wear plugs and muffs. And I recommend they go on like Amazon or something and buy Peltor youth model muffs, because they're a reduced size and they'll get a tighter fit around their ears. A big head like me or you, if you give a child those muffs, they're kind of stretched out a little bit. Yeah. So you want the maximum seal if possible. So we tell them get Peltor youth muffs and wear plugs as well, and introduce them to shooting. I recommend the same thing. I recommend the rifle, because action beats reaction. An 8-year-old kid can turn fast with a handgun. Oh my gosh, yeah. Even at 22. So start them with a rifle. If they exhibit a good level of maturity, pay attention, follow instruction, by the 3rd or 4th visit, start letting them shoot a 22 handgun. Would not be a problem. It's not.
I started the gun safety stuff with my son when he was 4, 5, 6 years old. It was Nerf gun safety. Perfect. And I would say, listen, here's the deal. If your sister's not in the gunfight, you can't point the gun at your sister or at your mother. You can't do it. Point it at your buddies all day long. It's a Nerf gun. That's what you guys are doing. And then I told my daughter, I'd say, sweetie, if you're in the Nerf gun fight, you can't shoot all the ammunition and then quit. And then load the ammunition and say you're back in. You've got to pick up the ammunition, hide behind the couch, and reload.
Correct.
That's what you got to do.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, muzzle discipline, what's wrong today is, with video games and television, movies and stuff, kids get the wrong idea and they don't take it as serious as they should. Mm-hmm. So it's the parents' responsibility to teach safe and responsible gun ownership. We teach the Eddie Eagle, the NRA's Eddie Eagle gun safety program for free from time to time at the range, and we'll get parents, well, I don't have guns in the house, and I'll say, well, 50% of the households in the country have a gun, and you might not have a gun, but when your kid goes over to somebody's house with a play date, they might come in contact with a gun, so maybe they should learn the safety rules. And usually I'll turn them that way. They'll be like, you're right, Mike. You can't put your head in the sand. It's not going to go away. Mm-hmm. And not everybody is as diligent as somebody like you and I, where our guns are locked up and we don't have access. There's people that do dumb things.
There are.
Yes.
I've told a lot of my students, I'll have guys come in and they'll say, hey, listen, I got a hot wife and I got a young baby and we got a big house and we're living our American dream. And I'd say, and he'd say, I want to get a gun to protect everybody, but I'm not going to tell my wife and I'm not going to tell my kids. And I'd say, rock on with your bad self, knock yourself out. But I got to tell you, when you're comfortable with it, show your wife. And when your wife is comfortable with it and your kid's mature enough, introduce them too.
Correct.
And I have a picture of my daughter. I love this picture. I have her shooting my Walther P22, and she's got this big smile on her face, and she's racking the slide, and she was at the no teeth age.
I love it.
So she was, I don't know, 5, 6 years old. Like both front teeth are missing, and it's an adorable picture.
The antis can't equate to that. They believe that no child should have access to guns. But again, I grew up in Newark, New Jersey in the 60s and 70s. I went to parochial school, aka Catholic school, and we had a rifle team and at the Police Athletic League, and they used to allow us to have our 22 rifles, to bring them to school, and the teacher would put them in a case in the coat closet, and after school you would take them and go shooting walk through Newark and go shooting at the Police Athletic League. I moved out of Newark in 6th grade, and the shooting team didn't start until 7th grade, so I was a part of it, but I saw it,
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And now what happened today that it's so taboo to even mention a gun? Kids can't even make a gun gesture. I got in trouble for making a gun gesture, by the way, which is a whole nother story.
Oh my God.
Statute of limitations hasn't run out on that. Someday Charlie will come back and we'll talk about that too. I had someone take criminal action against me for that, for pointing my index finger in an unsafe direction.
You're better off showing them the middle finger.
Which I do, no problem.
Right.
As my friend Ainsley Reynolds would say, that's a half a peace sign.
A half a peace sign. Yes, I heard him use that recently on one of the podcasts. I literally, half a peace sign, I'm like, which?
Yeah.
I see. So Angel Reynolds doesn't, he's the bow tie wearing accountant?
Yes, and he's an NRA instructor, and he belongs to a gun club and a Citizens Rifle and Pistol and Revolver Club, and he shoots at my range, and he introduces new shooters all the time. He belongs to the oldest African American, aka black fraternity in the United States, and he's very active with his fraternity, and we've actually hosted events with his frat brothers.
Very cool.
And he's converted many a negative into a positive, believe it or not.
That's a win-win.
And I embrace all the people of color and females because I see them as our future. Because again, I feel that we're saturated with the old white guy market. Obviously, we have new white shooters entering and waking up and wanting to shoot. Mm-hmm. But this is such an untapped market of people that we really, really have to embrace them. You can go right on the highway. I'll get you back. So it's not a problem.
I will tell you this. I was I thought about joining the Pink Pistols just to join another pro gun group, and obviously I didn't do anything about it until after Orlando.
Yes.
And in my home state of Massachusetts, I have a license to carry with no restrictions, which means I'm allowed to carry concealed. And my usual carry gun is a 5-shot J-frame. Smith Model 637.
One of my favorite carry guns.
I love it. But I decided after that I should probably carry 2 guns. And what I'd like to do is get a Smith 340 PD for my ankle. But those are $800. And I'm like, you know what? I don't have $800 for a J-frame. That's what still goes through my mind. So I got an inside the waistband holster from a buddy of mine. I did a Utah class up in New Hampshire, and he took that, and he's AJ Tactical up in Maine. And I put an order in for a purple holster, an inside the waistband holster for my Glock 19. And so after I got that, I was excited, I was happy, I tried wearing it and the whole thing, and then I put a picture of it, and I put it on the Pink Pistols Facebook page. And I said, I just got this, and here's the guy I got it from, and I'm happy with it, it's comfortable, it's great. And I said, the part of the reason I got purple is because my business card, purple's one of my biz colors. And I said, the other reason I got it is because I'm pretty sure my friends won't steal it. And one of the guys in the Pink Pistols, he's like, I'd steal it.
Of course. If you want an economical 5-shot, the Ruger LCR.
LCR!
It's very light, and it's about $425.
That's not a bad deal.
And if you ever get a chance to get an old Colt Detective Special, those are 6-shot revolvers.
Oh, wow.
And Colt stopped making them many years ago, but that's a great gun. And they still make speed loaders for them. And
oh, cool.
It's nice to have a 6-shot rather than a 5-shot.
5-shot, right.
But my carry gun that was a Ruger LCR, which was just because all the J-frames that I owned were too pretty. I didn't want to carry them and ruin them. I have a problem with guns because, once I acquire it, I love it for its beauty. And now I don't want to wear it because when you wear a gun, they get beat up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Between perspiration, banging them around, holster wear, there's a multitude of things that'll happen. They're going to get old. It's like your wallet gets aged and broken in.
Yep.
Well, every gun that I've ever owned, I didn't want to carry because I didn't want to ruin.
That's too cool. Did you get the LCR in 38 or 357?
When I bought the LCR, it wasn't available in 357. It was the first generation, and in 38. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
If I had a 357, I would put 38 plus Ps in it.
Right.
An old Masada Ute tip, because plus Ps not only do they have less muzzle flip, but they have less muzzle flash, and that's important because if you use the gun in a night fire situation, 357 Magnum is going to temporarily blind you.
Yeah.
And then we're in New Jersey, you're in Massachusetts. The Magnum word also has very negative connotations to it. Mm-hmm. He shot him with a 357 Magnum. But if you say he shot him with a 38 plus P, it doesn't sound quite
as threatening, right? Well, I like to tell people that the only good thing we got from the French is the term Magnum, and it just means a bigger bottle with more stuff like the Magnum bottles.
Correct. In New Jersey we talk about too, like, I'm not a big advocate of like zombie max ammo or anything, because if you shoot somebody with zombie max ammo, you could get a prosecutor saying, Charlie, were you trying to shoot a human or a zombie? Because you were carrying zombie max ammo.
Right.
So I wouldn't even want a box of that in my house if I was shooting a gun.
Right.
If I was carrying a gun or had a gun for home defense. So if you want to buy that as a novelty and bring it to the range and shoot it, expend it, throw it out, there's a New York City skyline.
I see that. I love that.
I'll tell you what exit to make a U-turn on. It's probably like 2 more.
Cool.
I don't want him to get lost in New Jersey. He'll end up getting mugged and his wheels stolen off his car in the wrong turn.
Well, I'll tell you this. I was going to rent a car for this road trip, and I don't have. I'm going to sound like a chump here. I'm not going to sound like a chump. I don't have a credit score.
Okay.
I'm debt free. I've been debt free for a year and a half. I've been following a guy who's debt free, Dave Ramsey, and I've been following him for a year and a half. I don't have any debt. My car's paid off. I don't have any credit cards, and I couldn't get a rental car. So I was not a happy man. So I literally went from the car rental place. I had to go back to my house to take out the P22 that I keep under my seat, and my little tray here I keep full of a handful of 9mm rounds, and my trunk I had to get rid of my range bag and my ammo case.
Because you're going through states
because I'm going
that
through
don't like guns.
You got it.
New Jersey is pretty bad. But now you just had ARs banned by the Attorney General, huh?
I couldn't believe, like, literally, I'm excited for this road trip that I've been on, and I see this. I get calls from a couple of friends of mine, and some posts from some Facebook friends, and like, what's going on? And the words that scare me are, the Attorney General said, anything that operates or has the same operating system as an assault weapon is what they want to ban. So, what, like a Ruger 1022 is going to be banned because it has the same.
Assault is an action, not a thing.
It is, absolutely. I like to tell my students that if I beat the crap out of you with a chair, that's an assault chair.
We're going to take 21 south.
Shotgun with Charlie.
Pull in the Red Robin. You're lucky.
Red Robin. All right. Well, listen, it is time for us to pack it up, and our journey has ended with Anthony Colandro, who is the founder of Gun for Hire, and he does the Gun for Hire podcast, which is how I ended up hearing about him. I ended up hearing about Anthony, oh my gosh, 4 or 5 years ago. I remember when the podcast was only, I'm going to say I started listening when it was like 25 episodes. And now you're up to what?
269 tomorrow,
269. That's awesome. That's awesome.
269. We're approaching 6 years.
That's great. Anyway, listen, Anthony, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you for
I hope
having
we
me
get
on,
an
Charles.
opportunity to do this again.
Be safe, people.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.